Ready and...
Well, the society started in Johannesburg in 1965, which is 50 years ago. Mercedes Molina, who had been dancing overseas with Luisa for about 6 years, had come back to South Africa, opened a studio. She decided she wanted to stay, and started teaching, had very many pupils. A lot of the ballet dancers went to her for lessons.
Merce and I were teaching together, and Ivy Comney, who was an RAD examiner, she met us one day for tea and she said, you know, you're not going to get anywhere just dancing, just teaching people steps. You must have a syllabus to work with so the children get a good technique, and you must have a syllabus like the RAD has got. Of course, I had done RAD, I'd done all my ballet exams in Durban. So had Merce, so we understood what it was. So we talked about it and we decided, well, let's try, but if we're going to do it, it must be around the country, not just Johannesburg. So Merce flew to Cape Town and I flew to Durban. In Cape Town, she found Diana Blatcher. I think Mavis was overseas, Marina was overseas, and in Durban I found Theo and Bernie. So Theo and Bernie came up to Johannesburg, and Diana Blatcher came to Johannesburg, and Mercedes and myself, and there was a Spanish woman, Gitanella, who was also there, and basically the 6 of us started to set the beginning of the syllabus. That was in I think it was in March.
And I was one of the 6 teachers at the inaugural setting of the syllabus. The people that were there were Diana Blatcher, myself, Mercedes Marina, Rhoda Rivkind, Madame Gitanella, and Bernard Lyle.
And then in November, Geoffrey came back from overseas, Marina came back from overseas, Mavis came back, and so we told them all to come in with us, and then all of us put in our little bits and pieces of the syllabus, and that's how we've been the whole 50 years. Every time somebody had something that they'd learned in Spain, they'd come back and put it into the syllabus.
It was Ivy Conmy's idea, and I take my hat off to her. She was so generous with her time. She just took what we'd done. I mean, our first exam was half an hour, and she said, no, my dears, 10 minutes. So we reduced it to 10 minutes, but all this was a lot of work.
We set like the first 4 grades in the first session that we had, and a lot of the very good dancers actually did all 4 exams in one. So they got to move on, and then we had to quickly start setting major exams because they were already at that level.
When I came back in the end of 1965, they had already, all the teachers from Durban, from Cape Town, from Johannesburg had got together and they had formed a syllabus. Each one had given a little bit of their knowledge and a little bit of what they had learnt in Spain. And then I was asked to put what was there already into a formation for the male dancers.
I was invited up and I helped form some of the syllabus in the next few grades, 3, 4, 5. I remember putting in a Fandango Stualba that I'd learnt in Spain. And it was fun. We went up, Rhoda was there, and Mercedes, and quite a few other teachers, and Marina was there, and we were all of us trying to give something of our knowledge towards the syllabus, because that was the whole thing. The late Ivy Conmy wanted all of the dancers, the Spanish teachers who were teaching, to collaborate, put their knowledge together, and then make a syllabus, and with that happening, the standard of Spanish dance would become much better, and we would raise the standard.
Because Rhoda would come in with a 2-pound box of chocolates and we'd polish it off while we worked. And then she would fall asleep across the notes she was making, and Geoffrey and I would just pull them out from under her, leave her to sleep, and we'd go on working. And then when she woke up, she'd join us and work.
We kept on adding to the syllabus. We added a senior syllabus, then we added a teacher syllabus. I was invited to help the new flamenco syllabus. So there was a grade 3, 4, 5, which Vicky Ramos came and helped choreograph the numbers. I helped write them out. Because of my tap background, I think I was able to count the beats very easily, so it was easy to put it down. Then when it came to the teacher's exams, same thing happened. I helped a lot with not only choreographing, but definitely writing the syllabus down. Our latest was the dancer Estilizada, which I helped choreograph. I helped write it down, and of course I always had help from Sherrill and Marina, and so I did dancer 1, dancer 2, and then Sherrill and Geoffrey helped with dancer 3.
And we pooled our knowledge, and that's the strength of the syllabus, because it's not just one person who thinks I do this. We used to thrash out how you play castanet, how you would do the best stamping, things like that, and the arms. It was just a wonderful, wonderful occasion, but it was great fun. So we didn't just work hard, we also had a lot of fun.
Well, if you look at the people that started the actual society, each person had commenced Spanish dance either in South Africa or in London, and were so well trained that immediately were taken into the very big dance companies, Antonio, Luisa, and when they came back to South Africa, they started teaching. And they knew that only way to really bring the standard up was to form a system.
There was Spanish dancing in South Africa because many people had learned with Brunelleschi in London, and she was a very good teacher, and the people came to South Africa like Ivy Conmy, who also became our first president.
The companies that toured at that stage, they were Antonio, Luisillo, Jose Greco, and they did all Spanish dancing. Their programs had regional, classical, and ended with flamenco. And everybody was so taken up with this. And in 10 years we had 7 visits. So it built up such an excitement, and we stepped into that. We were very lucky, very lucky. And most of the teachers joined Lucilla's company, and they knew what the professional standard was, and the rest of us were very good teachers, so it all joined together.
We had all been trained in the RAD or Chiquetti, and that exam system seemed to work very well. The South African dancers were very good. They were well trained, they were well disciplined, and in a professional setting, in a company, they were able to fit in very nicely.
And these wonderful people like Mercedes, like Geoffrey, like Rhoda, like Mavis, like Marina, Keet, Theo Dantes, a lot of them, Hazel Acosta, they all contributed and gave so much of what they had gained abroad to make what I call an exceptional syllabus. And even after 50 years, it's still exceptional and still the best way to learn Spanish dance. But I think it's because we adapted to the style, the passion, everything, the music, and it just became part of us.
The South Africans were very generous with their knowledge, and they just gave it to the society, just like that. Of course, nobody earned anything out of it. We all just gave. And that's what the South Africans do. They're very friendly people, and they're very giving people. The society grew and grew and grew, and we had thousands of entries all over South Africa. It was just impossible to control it.
We found that our students were just so, they were so taken up by this, and they improved. And it was South Africa's biggest contribution to dance teaching.
So we keep on going. We try not to keep static, and we try to give our students and our members as good as we can give them, so that they too can raise the standard of their Spanish dancing, because after all, we have a constitution, and the idea of the constitution is to raise the standard of Spanish dancing. And I think we really have succeeded.
Our syllabus is now being taught in many countries around the world. Firstly, it started with Marina Keet, who went over to Italy. She opened a branch there. It went very well for many years, and then her husband was transferred to America, so off she went to America and opened up a branch there, which absolutely flourished. Then Sherrill Wexler left Cape Town, went to live in England. She opened up a branch there, and it spread to the whole of Europe.
I arrived in the UK as an examiner of the society, and then I became the UK and European Executive Administrator of the society. And then later on we formed the board, the International Board, which consists of Geoffrey Neiman at the head, Marina Keet, Rhoda Rivkind, Mavis Becker, Nancy Sedgwick from the USA, and myself.
Of course, Sherrill started in England. I came to England with Fred Ziegler. I think it was probably 1982 for the opening of the English branch. And Sherrill and I were very raw as far as organising things. You know, we didn't really know what to do in England, I'm talking about. And I remember we walked miles to try and find the place that we had hired to have this opening. And eventually we had to take our shoes off and we were walking barefoot in the street. We just couldn't walk anymore. We got to the place where we hired and we went up lots of stairs, and we came there and the two of us stood and looked at each other and we said, we don't think anybody's coming. We had invited all the big knobs of dance in England who we didn't know, but we invited them. And then slowly, Sherrill and I would stand at the top of the stairs and I said, Sherrill, there's another man coming. We better find out who he is. And the person would come up and they'd come up and congratulate us, and we didn't know who half the people were. And eventually, of course, we got introduced to everybody, and we had this wonderful opening in England. And various teachers heard about it, and then Sherrill worked very hard because the whole of Europe grew to Sherrill basically. She heard of somebody who was going to Greece, who was a Spanish dancer, and she said, don't you want to teach our syllabus? And then to Spain and then to Italy. And that's how the rest of the world grew.
I was the first examiner to go to Greece, and with you and Trinda Smith, who was the first teacher, Greece is now the biggest branch in Europe. I was also the first examiner sent to Russia, which is now growing.
I had 3 pupils in South Africa. One went to live in Canada, one went to live in Bangkok, and one went to live in Sydney. So I said to them all, before you leave, see you know the syllabus so that you can open branches. And that's what they did.
And then all of a sudden, many years later, the Spanish teachers embraced us. And that was a sign that we had arrived.
When we asked the Spaniards, are you happy with the syllabus? And they said, it's the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to them. Because one teacher explained to me, she said, I've never learned all these regional dances. She said, and I live in Spain. Because she said, if I want to learn an Extremadura, I've got to travel from Theo Dantes, which is Miles, she's all down south. And she said, I've got to travel to Extremadura, I've got to leave my studio, cancel my lessons, stay in Extremadura, pay hotels, learn one dance, and come back. And she said, that could take 10 days and come back. And she said, and in your syllabus, I can learn Extremadura, I can learn Galician, I can learn Jota, I can learn La Cataranga, all in one syllabus. So she said, so who can't be happy? She said, we're absolutely ecstatic with the syllabus.
I learned a lot by collaborating with all these teachers who had studied in Spain. It was really exciting.
And I'm just so proud to be part of this wonderful, exciting society that keeps growing, and to be here in Valencia now, where we all come together as a big family. And I think it's just remarkable that through that first meeting, we never expected anything like what we are today. And I think it's just going to continue.
And suddenly we're 50 years old and we're still alive. And we can't quite believe it.
to celebrate 50 years, I think, is something very special. And in Johannesburg, we got together, Rhoda and I, and decided that we were going to do a huge celebration. So we invited Angel Munoz to come out to South Africa. And in Johannesburg, he gave a 5-day course. And then we hired the Johannesburg Theatre, and we gave 4 performances in Johannesburg. So it was a great success in Johannesburg. And at the same time, we have a wonderful woman here who lives in Valencia, who is the organizer of the society.
Very kindly, Maria Jesus Garcia de Bayardi, the organizer in Spain, really wanted to present the Spanish Dance Society to Spain, to say, look, here's a foreign body, got this wonderful syllabus, got centers all around the world. I'm going to host the 50th anniversary. So between the Spanish Dance Society as such and Maria Jesus, we formed a wonderful course with teachers like Angel Muñoz, Charo Espino, Miguel Espino, choreography by Miguel and Angel, choreography by Sandra, a teacher of Maria Jesus, and some of the dances the Spanish Dance Society are being shown to show that we teach flamenco, folk dance and the classical. So it's been 4 glorious days of hard work, and we are now anticipating the performance.
It's 50 years. I can't even believe that I'm 50 years old, let alone 50 years for the society.
Thank goodness there's so many of us from the start who are still here, which makes it even more special because we are literally lifelong friends. All the people in the society who started 50 years ago or 49 years ago, whatever they were, and we've remained friends, which is quite unusual because when you speak to other societies, they're always fighting. Everybody's, I know with the modern societies, they've broken up and they've split up and they've become something else. We've never, ever fallen out with each other. We've always remained friends, which is a big thing in a theatrical world.
Here we are celebrating 50 incredible years.
Me parece que hacen una labor increíble porque cumplir ya 50 años en cualquier cosa es muy difícil, ¿no? Y en la danza que lleven 50 años trabajando alrededor de todo el mundo, manteniendo esa cultura española que tanto hace falta, ¿no? Para que siga habiendo bailarines, siga habiendo ese interés por el clásico español. Yo creo que es una forma de adorar nuestra cultura y lo siguen haciendo pero con toda su gana, ¿no? Entonces eso me parece excelente.
We are amazed at what has happened. So we are celebrating a wonderful syllabus which went viral.